Well, Zach, we are on quite the roll of Calix colleagues joining the podcast here.
That's right. I'm excited to have Jeannine on today. She is our Regional Vice President of Success Education. So welcome to the podcast, Jeannine.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And now that you're a guest, I couldn't have an episode without doing an icebreaker question, which I can't tell if Gabe likes these yet or not. So we're just going to keep doing them. But I have two questions, and you can pick which one you want, or you can answer them both. And Gabe, same questions for you. Number one is, if you could download any skill into your brain instantly, what would it be? And the second one would be, what's the most interesting thing you've learned online that you did not learn in school?
Those are good questions, Zach.
The obvious answer for me for number one is Kung Fu.
You thinking like Matrix style, like total Keanu Reeves?
Kung Fu.
Yeah,
without
that
a
would
doubt.
be pretty
Kung
great.
Fu.
I was thinking like something like math related, like I'd be like a math expert kind of thing. Like I'm good at like statistics and algebra, but you won't see me doing like geometry and calculus anymore. But Gabe, how about you?
So the one that comes to mind for me, I really love music, and it makes me sad that I cannot play music at all. Like I love listening to music, but I can't play it at all. My dad is very musically inclined. My sister's very musically inclined, and that just like totally skipped me. So I saw, it was just Groundhog Day the other day, and the Groundhog Day movie was on, and there's that part of Groundhog Day where Bill Murray learns to play the piano because he's living the same day over and over and over again. So that would be mine. I'd love to learn to play the piano and just have it, but I don't know that I have the patience to sit down to actually do it. So I need it just downloaded and injected directly into my brain.
I hate to say it, but I have no idea what movie you're talking about.
What? You really? Oh gosh. You see, this kills me, Jeannine.
This Gen Xer generation gap. Oh, it's so fun, Zach.
You should have been on last week, Jeannine. We had a great episode. I feel like we've been on a roll this year, Gabe, but it's called the Groundhog Day, right? Is that the one with
yes,
Robin Williams in it? Is that
no? It's got Bill Murray. My God, Zach, you're killing me, man.
We're off to a fantastic start here. We should have gone to the other
for Zach
questions.
to go.
Caddyshack, and you're thinking, I know, but you know what? That's vintage. That's 1970s. Well done, Zach. Hey,
that's true.
I have seen
double
Caddyshack.
Points to Zach, actually. No, well done. Love it.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, your homework tonight is to go watch Groundhog Day because that is a hilarious movie.
Well, it's great. We're talking about things we wish we would have learned or these new skills. And now we're talking about having homework. And Jeannine, I think, I could talk about you all day. You're one of my favorite people, but I want to let you talk about what you do here at Calix, because I think you have a very unique role, especially in the broadband space.
I do have a unique role, and I credit Calix for that. They helped me, they made a space for me to design it. So historically in my role as the leader of education, we would be doing, of course, Calix solution training, mostly product training. That makes sense. Certification exams, all of that. I came in and I had the good fortune to be hired by Allison Boudreau, Kylie Harriman, and then Martha was amazing, Martha Galley, in sort of sussing me out, because I was actually recruited out of healthcare education. And prior to that was an exceptional education teacher, including voc tech. So believe it or not, this is my second year in education. So I have a very strong point of view. I come in with a very strong point of view in terms of what we're trying to do beyond, of course, we provide Calix solution education and we provide that kind of support. And I was allowed to yes and that. I'm a big believer in the yes and that comes out of improv, where you take the need and then you riff off of it and you ask why 5 times. Why is that need even there? And it leads you to some pretty cool spaces. So Calix really went out of the box with me as their hire and has been tremendously supportive all the way up through Michael as far as where I've taken it.
That's awesome.
Cool.
And one of the things we kind of wanted to kick off the conversation with today was this college model. And Gabe, you actually brought this question up a couple of weeks ago. You said, is the college model breaking? And I'd love to hear more from you on what you think that means.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I just think a lot about, even Zach, when you were growing up, I'm sure everybody told you like, well, you graduate high school and then you go to college and then you get a job, right?
That's what you do.
Yeah, that's what you do. And I really feel like that model is shifting. And I know, Jeannine, you have a lot of thoughts on this as well. But, I wonder, like, are my kids going to see college as the right path for them? Is that something that's going to be interesting for them? 10 or 15 years when they're thinking about this. My sister-in-law works for higher education. She works for the California State University system. And to say that there are some changes going on in that system is probably the understatement of the century. The school that she works at just completely cut all of their athletics programs. They're making significant cutbacks because of the reduction in people that are coming to the school and the reduction in enrollment that's happened over the last few years. And they're really struggling. And I don't think that's just the CSU system. I think there's a lot of organizations that are struggling. So I wonder what college looks like in 10 years, right? I wonder how this is all going to shift, especially with the amount of education that is available for free widely with the internet, right? And Jeannine, I know you've got some strong opinions on this. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too.
Yeah, so I mean, I was classically trained. I, went all the way up through master's degree and then even some postmaster's work. But for my own child, to your point, I have a teenager and we have looked at things a little bit differently. I'm so fortunate to get to research the cutting edge of education. What does that look like now? It shows up in my job. We're always thinking about that person who is field-based, someone who is out in the field. What does it look like to keep them educated, that on-the-job performance support mindset? And so through my training, again, coming out of Oak Tech and coming out of workforce education, we're always thinking about that. What does this look like back on the job? And through that, in my own life with my own kid, I'm actually said, I really want you to go do a NetOps program just for a semester in high school so you don't think the internet is magic. That way, no matter where you go and what you do, you can speak with people about your connectivity needs. You can, again, I want to demystify a lot of things in terms of technical education. It used to be, if you were really good on computers, you might think to yourself, oh, I might do this for a living. Maybe if you were fortunate that you had that kind of thing in your community, you could pursue that. But it was kind of a very, very narrow track. Now it's just wide open. Through badging, through all kinds of things that you can do online for free and through some of our education partners and even through Calix University, we want to make sure there is no barrier to access to a world-class technical education. And then we even take that farther and we say now leadership education. I want you, I'm here to build that project manager to general manager to CEO pipeline. And then everything else surrounding it, an entire ecosystem of jobs in broadband is what we're here to do, which is very, very different from a college model. Mm-hmm. I don't want people to have to go and sit in a class and listen to a lecture. I want them out there trying, and that's what we're building through Calix University.
I love hearing that. And I have to say, I'm a little jealous that in high school, you had access to a NetOps class, because that is something I would have absolutely done in high school. And I think of, a lot of these BSPs, I went to school in a small town for a while, and a lot of the things we did was, with our BSP or with I know our hospital had some programs just to get some of that hands-on experience. It's actually a semester-long class, and one of the things you had to do was go out and spend a day in the life or do this education component with that provider or whomever. And I think in the broadband space, there's just plenty of opportunity there. I know, like when I graduated high school, or when I was about to graduate high school, one of the things I wanted to do was that more technical track, specifically with networking as well. And ultimately, I ended up going to the University of Wyoming and graduating with a bachelor's degree. So I didn't end up doing that, but still to this day, I mean, that NetOps class, that just sounds amazing to me.
Yeah, I feel strongly that no matter what you're going into, no matter what field, even a creativity, kind of oriented field, a writer, anything needs to have a tech component now. And that's what we want to make sure everybody has access to. So we say, do you see yourself in broadband? We do. Let us show you how. Meaning any skill set you bring to the table. And while that's youth, I also want to reach out to mid-career people, veterans, even people who thought to themselves retirement, or maybe they have retired. I want to pull them back out and bring them into broadband because we need them with the workforce that's needed to deploy with the kinds of goals that we have in North America. And then even we're supporting international expansion. Everybody has a space here, and we're here to show them what that is.
I wanted to hit on that.
I think I mentioned this in a past episode too, Gabe, but I do marketing. I have a marketing degree. Everything I do is, marketing related or, data related as well. But if you put a fiber splicer in front of me, I could get through it, like I've learned how to do that as well.
Me too. And I know how to get a splinter out if I accidentally.
Okay, that I don't know if I can. But...
These are life skills. Yes, that's important.
Yeah,
I learned that
exactly. There's just so much technical talent in the broadband industry that's needed. And for the opportunity to to learn, a skill like that. I may never use it, but I'm absolutely glad that I learned how to do that. I understand that now. But again, going back to the need for the talent in the industry, that's huge.
Yes. Well, I have the fortune, again, Calix, when I say, hey, I'm willing to go talk with people about this, you never quite know how that's going to go. You don't know, especially, again, me not coming out of that field, if I'm going in front of an entire room and I have hundreds of engineers, hundreds of, leaders in broadband, and you think to yourself, like, do I have something to say that they haven't already heard? And the thing is, it's honestly comes down to, the pain with no name. They know that there are problems out there with trying to find a highly competent workforce. They might not know what to call it, but they know maybe people coming in, even people that are considered highly technical, highly trained. There's that project management piece. There's that empathy building piece. Again, it's so much more than the nuts and bolts. Like if I'm an install and repair technician, I have to have amazing communication skills. I'm going into somebody's home. I have to have so much emotional intelligence. There is that sauce, if you will. And so that's what we end up talking about when I do go out and talk with large groups is what is that? And what does that look like for your region, for your community? A locally embedded project manager, where can you find that person? How can you show them their place in broadband if they've never even considered it? So I always put up, the Mark Cuban quote, well, at least it's attributed to him. An entire generation is studying for jobs that will no longer exist. And the room always gets real quiet. And because, we all feel that, right? Especially if we're parents or who have kids at school age. But the great news is that's not happening in broadband. Broadband is needed for AI. Broadband is needed for quantum computing. We need actually a tremendous workforce to carry out our goals. Just even people, like I said, I come out of the healthcare space. We used to joke, like spit into the wind and like stand in your car and wave your phone and try to get a hotspot in order to like call the orders in for shift change because I've supported hospice and home care. People pulling up to McDonald's parking lot, just desperate to try to get an order in to the pharmacy on time. These are the stories that I came to Calix with. And I was fortunate that our leadership saw that passion and that drive for smart towns, smart communities, smart homes, so people can age in place, so people who have disabilities can be meaningfully employed, so parents keep their kids safe, so we can keep elders safe. This is what I see when I see an install and repair tech. This is what I see when I see a CSR, a project manager. I see the people that are solving for this. And we even get into cybersecurity awareness and some pretty heavy topics along with that.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and I love the way you've approached this around transformation and not development. I think that's such an important word that you've snuck in there around workforce transformation, because it is, like you said, whether it's pulling somebody out of retirement even, or a mid-career change to, transform into to deliver these jobs of the future. But it is, like you said, it's so important. And I going back to my own kids, I wonder this all the time too. Like, are they, what jobs are they going to do when they grow up? When I used to work in customer success, I had a really hard time explaining what that job was to people, because it wasn't a job that existed when I was a kid. I didn't be like, I want to be a customer success manager when I grow up. Yeah, it's really hard to explain to people.
When I left healthcare education, everybody went, "You're going where to do what?"
Yeah,
and I was
exactly.
Like, I'm going to help make sure we have a connected home so paramedics can operate top of license, so first responders have the support that they need, so people can connect, so we can do the vision we have of a smart home. One of my favorite case studies comes out of Yuhan Sonin. He's at MIT, and he actually came to speak with my team of course developers and Calix U faculty, because he was fascinated by what we were doing. I've always been fascinated by what he's doing with this vision of the bathroom as the health room. And we can follow up in the community post. I'd be happy to put that out there. And that stuck with me. I want to say they published that over a decade ago. And as someone who was providing patient and family support personally, and then also I helped the helpers, as I explained to my son, making sure they got their education, their ongoing education and credentialing, that stuck with me. I was like, we can make this happen. And the ripple effect in communities for building stability and for building intergenerational well-being, that's what resonates with me. And that's my why for doing this. So it's also a lot of fun. I mean, I don't know if you heard, we have a giant chicken that we bring around with us. And I have a giant ball of yarn with glasses on it because I'm teaching fiber optics.
Oh, that's funny. I've never seen that one.
The transformation word, John DeRocher brought that to me because he was listening. He was reflecting. He was listening to me talk, and he could hear, my vision for where I wanted to bring us. And my team is just phenomenal. Oh my goodness, they blow my mind every day with their innovative thinking and their deep level of care for this industry and for the people working in it and for the impact on the communities is just so clear. And so he actually coined that term for us because he was listening to what we were doing and what we aim to do. We really are aiming to be the change that we wish to see. So I can credit him with that, and we love it.
I'm not surprised that he picked up on that. And you mentioned a word that we talked about when we met with him, or when we had him on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, which was listening and really listening deeply for what it is that people are saying, and then kind of playing that back to them in a way that they may not necessarily have thought of themselves, but that they clearly are passionate about. The other part of this transformation piece, and something that I loved as we were prepping for this, is not just being a technician or a broadband, network operations individual or something, but you're really looking to solve a problem that the customer is having in their home or in their business. And like you said, you mentioned the emotional component. You do have to really have a high EQ in order to do these jobs, because you're dealing with people in a very intimate setting, right? In their home, in their business, right? There's a lot of emotional aspect of this that people need to be aware of as they're moving into these roles.
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of sensitivity that goes into being in broadband. And so we're actually helping right now to create recruitment materials for people's websites. So broadband leaders, we're putting it out in our electric content builder pretty soon, where again, that word transformation, not just do you see yourself in broadband, but do you realize the impact you can have on your community by having this kind of job? We want to transform the way the industry sees itself. We want to transform the way people regard the industry. And the way to do that is through stories. And the way to do that, of course, is through outreach. So everything to me comes down to education, no matter what we're doing. Again, just going out and storytelling. And it's so locally specific. You want to make sure that it's deeply meaningful to the region, to that specific community. So that's what we're helping to do as well.
One of the things we talked about, Jeannine, was how you're building these talent pipelines and these job placement programs as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So that, again, our sales team is so cool. They get it. They get the big picture. They really care deeply. Again, I think that's a huge thing about Calix. Our salespeople aren't salesy. They really want to solve problems. They really deeply care. And
as a salesperson, I support this message.
Oh yeah, I guess you are now, Gabe. I didn't even think about that. Oh my gosh, yes. But we do. And that just shows, again, that empathy, that compassion, that we come with solutions. It's literally like, hey, we made this product because we were thinking of you. Hey, we made this feature because we were thinking of you. We heard you. That's what we're all about. So it was in talking to some of our regional sales council leaders and hearing about just pain points. What's going on? And they're like, people want to expand or they want a succession plan, but they just don't have the people. And I said, okay. And so that background of root cause analysis, I got to be Lean Six Sigma trained to the green belt level due to my healthcare background. And so you ask why 5 times. That's it. That's root cause analysis. Keep asking why. Nobody asks why more than toddlers and designers, as it goes. And so I did gently prod a little bit, like, tell me more. Tell me about when and why and why and why. So that led me to talking with, of course, customers themselves, who then led me to the associations that they belong to, who then led me to the faculty at the technical colleges, maker spaces, high schools, who were preparing or aiming to prepare the broadband workforce of now and the future. Turns out they didn't have the professional development and the access to resources that they would like. And I was like, hey, guess what? I run a corporate university. I can help. So that's where we ended up. So the original problem that was posed to me way back a couple of years ago was you have got to create an install and repair tech training program and certification. I was like, interesting, because FOA does that. FBA, amazing partners, have beautiful curricula doing exactly that. Do I really want to recreate what they've already done? No, I'd rather work with them and create an education partner program, which is what we've done. We've created a whole network of curricula that all complements one another. And do I want to go and fill some gaps? And so that's what we did. We created a community of practice. Mitchell Tech is an example, phenomenal faculty. who have worked with Calix U faculty on lab development. We make no equipment, no problem. We use a platform called Scalable Labs to where anyone with a link can get in and, safe space to break stuff, get sandboxes talking to each other. We are here to show people how smart they are. We are here to demystify this. We are here to show them, hey, you have a space here. Come in. This is, switch this on, turn up this over here.
Yeah,
now
totally.
Break it, see what happens. We are such a maker mindset kind of group. Everyone on my team has this very much maker mindset. Probably all of us were the kids that, could undo the radio to see what it was made of. Not quite get it back together, right? But the spirit was there. And that's the kind of people I hire on the team. And that's again, that deep empathy for the people that we serve. Everybody is a customer co-designer. We reach out often, but again, you'll hear us asking why 5 times in our subtle ways. And it usually gets you at the real root of the problem. Mm-hmm. I think to myself, if we had just gone off and created an install and repair tech training, because that's what everybody said that they needed, that wouldn't have been the right direction to go. I feel fortunate that we had the kind of support that we had to go, let's dig a little deeper here. And that's how we got to do outreach with the National Tribal Telecom Association. That's how we got to do outreach with technical colleges, maker spaces, and this whole huge, broad community of practice that we're building with some of our association partners and technical college partners and high schools has just been so gratifying.
I think there's a really, really good lesson in there, Jeannine, just generally for business and probably for life, which is don't just assume because somebody asks you to do something that's the right thing to do. Actually go and ask those questions and figure out what real problem am I looking to solve? I think about that a lot. Obviously, Zach, most of the conversations that we have on here on the podcast are marketing focused. And so much of it is, well, what ultimate is the customer looking to solve? And that approach of why. I only did 4 there, but I know what you said 5. But to get to that real root cause problem of what is the customer looking to solve for, I think we could all be a heck of a lot better off if we were asking those questions rather than doing the assumptions of, well, this is what my customer want, or my boss told me to do this, so I need to go off and do it. We all need to be a little bit, I don't know, I don't want to say argumentative, but, maybe just questioning in the assumptions that we bring to this so that we're not just doing the easy thing versus doing the right thing.
Yeah, well said. And you don't want to rush to a solution. What is it? This comes out of the engineering world. If you can define the problem, you're halfway to the solution. And what is a big thorny problem but a series of little problems? So we do human-centered design thinking on the team. That is deep empathy for what the person coming to us is experiencing. And we discover that pain. And if we need to do shadowing, but maybe we don't get to shadow them all the time, but we can sit and we can ask questions and understand what their world looks like. And that's when we arrive at things that really resonate. I feel like we do that with Calix solutions all the time. Like I can go out and evangelize our product team all day, love them because they do human-centered design thinking and that shows up. So it makes it really easy to go stand out in front of what we do. And then we bring that's how we ended up in cybersecurity awareness. That's how we ended up supporting the human trafficking awareness curricula, because we've got, install and repair techs going into homes. We have CSRs answering calls. We have people out in the community. So we believe that if you are in this industry, not only is cybersecurity about keeping your network safe, it's about keeping your community safe. So we provide that at no cost to anyone who wants it. We make sure that they get access to that through our Department of Homeland Security curriculum partners and then some others that we partner with as well.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I did want to talk about cybersecurity too. And you have built what sounds like a fantastic partnership with the Department of Homeland Security, Jeannine. So, when you told me about this last week, I was super interested. I feel like we always talk about how every year, like cybersecurity is more important than ever. It's constantly evolving. But I think this is just a fantastic partnership, Jeannine.
That was through Michael. Michael Weening was talking to the FBI. We were at National Tribal Telecom. He's fantastic. He was talking to the FBI, as one does, right? They had a booth and giving out information. So I had the good fortune of living in the Gila River area. So I got to go to National Tribal Telecom Association conference. And we learned so much by being there, figuring out how can we be useful. So it was through that conversation, and then they hooked him up with somebody who, and then he was like, hey, and brought a bunch of us in to listen. And actually the guy from the government was really funny. You don't think Department of Homeland Security funny, but he really was.
Yeah,
And
you wouldn't
we
think
were
it's going to be a barrel of laughs.
It was again, you had to stay open, and
Yeah.
curious, how can we help? Why are we on this call right now? What can we do? And it was exactly that. They were having an easy enough time reaching big companies and, people that had entire cybersecurity teams and all that already know about them. It was the small, the mid, the rural, the green fields, the very far out regions that we were serving. They did not know that they too could access Department of Homeland Security, cybersecurity skills to work, even FBI guidance and how to identify risk. I didn't mention that part. I did start out way long ago, supporting technology risk consulting boot camps. So I had that basis of understanding of where, because I don't even know that the guy we were on with could quite articulate where he was going. But between that background and then again, the healthcare background, seeing what I've seen by providing care in the homes, we were able to piece together this, hey, this is how this can meaningfully show up for Calix customers, and then all that we serve beyond. You do not have to be a Calix customer to access Calix University. We do have an education partner program, like I said. We want to make sure there is no barrier to access for this. Of course, we'd love for them to become customers, but we want to make that clear. We are all about ethical and equitable access to a world-class technical education through Calix.
Yeah, that's a really important aspect, and one that, frankly, we probably don't talk about nearly enough. But I know you've been a huge proponent for and very passionate about is making as much of this content as humanly possible available to as many people as want to consume it, right? And it sort of goes back to some of the conversation we were having at the beginning of this podcast around how people get educated now and how much information is out there. How do you, I guess that would be one question I would have for you is there is so much information available, right? Mm-hmm. It's a deluge, right? For sure. How do you recommend people kind of filter that information to try and find the thing that's going to be really important and impactful for them?
That is such a great question. There is an overwhelming amount of information out there. And so my team provides guidance sessions where you can sit with us and we can help you navigate it. We are the resident nerds, as we call it. We're let us be your librarians, let us be your guide to all of the curricula that's out there. So we do a needs assessment where we listen, again, deeply to what the current needs are. We try to map it to existing resources. If existing resources don't map correctly to the needs, then we do a bit of a gap analysis, which includes that why. Why doesn't this exist? We always have to assume people have the best of intentions. Everybody's really smart. If it doesn't exist, there's probably a reason. There's some barrier. So that's what we try to figure out. Is there just some barrier to this happening? Has somebody tried this before and for whatever reason it didn't get traction? Sometimes it's just a matter of timing. So it's all about curation. The old adage in instructional design that I come out of is content is king. I think that goes across so many industries. Well, curation is queen. Curation, empathy, these are the things that are showing up now. And to your point earlier, Gabe, about how do you prepare the youth of today? You do it through competencies. So skills can be taught. I can teach technical skills. Those are going to constantly change and emerge. That's like trying to pin down a cloud.
Sure.
Where I can focus, though, instead is technical competencies, emotional intelligence competencies, innovation competencies, troubleshooting, huge. That's one that we lean into really hard. That critical thinking. So that's what, no matter what happens in the industry, no matter what happens with coming up, we're going to have AI-enabled BSPs, AI-enabled teams. We can't stay ahead of that, the pace of that. We can prepare, though. We can prepare by identifying competencies of what does it look like to be AI literate? What does it look like to be troubleshooting savvy? What does it look like to be cybersecurity awareness savvy? These are the competencies now that are building the workforce of the future.
Did you hear I heard an interesting quote from Mark Benioff the other day. It was I guess he's the co-CEO of Salesforce, which always the co-CEO thing always is weird to me. But regardless, he said something like, this is the last generation of managers that will be managing an entirely human workforce.
I read that too.
I was like, whoa, that just kind of melted my brain. It's such a trip to think about that and So to be fair, he's trying to sell agentic AI, right? And that's been that's definitely the focus of Salesforce as they move forward. So there's a somewhat selfish reason for him saying that. But I do think there's a lot of truth to a combination of AI workforce, person-led workforce, and how those two things are going to interact going forward. That's a very unique, that's a very different skill set that a new manager is going to have to figure out, that I don't think anybody's quite sorted yet.
It's that Gabe GPT model I've been training. It's ready to go now.
That's fantastic.
I told Gabe at one point.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I said I was going to tell Gabe at one point I wanted to take all of Gabe and I's chats and everything we've ever done together and train an AI model strictly off of that. Just so you have all of the Gabe knowledge and the language that Gabe would use, and there you go.
Sometimes salty language.
I seriously want to do that, and we're actually aiming to do that with our faculty.
Is that are you really? Oh, that's super cool.
Calix U faculty in your pocket. If you've got a question, you can literally. So we do want to entrain. So that's actually where Calix U is going next. We already do some AI enabled course development and class material development, because of course you can and. I can't go and say, hey, I'm going to help you build an AI-enabled BSP team without trying it out myself. So again, totally. We're the safe space to fail. We're here to show people how smart they are, and we're here to provide the safe place to play and make mistakes. And there's nothing more powerful than going in front of other leaders and going, hey, I tried this with my own team, and these are the things to be aware of, and these are the things that weren't worth our time. So we're actually in the process of doing that right now. And it, again, gets into those competencies, Gabe. So when it comes to the competencies behind being an AI-enabled team, it is still the blending of high tech with high touch. You don't want to have one without the other. It's just like we just did a workshop about trust. What is trust made up of? They've literally gotten it down to a scientific formula. It is a balance of warmth and competence. If you come in too warm, everybody wants to be your friend, everybody wants to take you out for a beer, that's cool, but they don't trust your opinion necessarily. They're not going to follow your guidance. You're just fun, or you're sweet, or whatever. If you come in too hot on the high competence, they're like, well, that person knows a lot, but they're kind of a jerk. I don't really want to work with them. So it's that blend of those two things that's the sauce behind trust. So that's the sauce we're going to figure out too, alongside our customers and those we serve beyond our customers, the communities that they serve. What does that look like to be that highly empathetic while also integrating thoughtfully the high-tech tools at our disposal?
So one of the last things I want to talk about, literally, is Valentine's Day. And Jeannine, the marketer in me knows that the Calix U team has some Valentine's Day things planned. So can you walk us through what to expect here in the next couple days?
Yes. So we are so excited. We are going to be doing more outreach. We've been doing outreach for a couple of years now, actually, in earnest. But, you do things quietly, and you just do these things, the right things to do. And we didn't realize we'd start to get attention, but we have. And so we were like, you know what, we got to start getting out there on LinkedIn. My team has a tendency to we put our heads down and we just work and we create and we build and we serve. And then we move on to the next thing.
You got to tell people about what you did, Jeannine.
I was like, we need to get celebratory here. We need to tell people.
Absolutely.
So Valentine's is coming up, and we were like, this is how we show our love. We show our love through ethical and equitable access to a world-class technical education. We were recently honored as Geeks Without Frontiers. That's through the N50 project, meaning the other 50% outside of North America. What does the world look like for them? So we have offered actually our education internationally. Again, no barrier to it. You can reach out to us and we can provide you access to Calix U and then access to some of our content partners. So if we don't have it, we have a partner who does, but we're going to celebrate that on Valentine's. And then there's a little lead in from one of my favorite shows on the planet, Parks and Rec. Don't know if you ever watched that.
That is my second favorite TV show.
Zack and I, we argue it's the best show ever. I'm quite the Leslie Note myself. So I love Galentine's Day, which is the day before Valentine's. She would get together, all of her girlfriends to celebrate each other. And that's a couple weeks ahead of International Women's Month, which is March. So this is the lead up into March. We're actually going to be on site in Hawaii, reaching out. We've got an elementary school, community college, a university, and then we're going to be talking. They just got a huge NTIA grant. And we've got a couple of partners. We've got FOA, Fiber Optics Association, we've got NCTI, and then we just secured this morning a partnership with Duraline Academy. So we're going to be celebrating all of our content partners. That's just the start. We've got more, and bringing that content into the broadband community and seeking out aspiring leaders in broadband and people who never even saw themselves there. And that's how we're going to show our love during International Women's Month. So Valentine's is just the kickoff.
I love that all. And I love the Parks and Rec reference. I don't know if Gabe have you even seen this show?
I've seen Parks and Rec.
Oh, I was really hoping you hadn't.
No, come on, dude. Nick Offerman is an absolutely classic character.
You've heard a lot about me. Let's just put it that way. If you ever want to know what makes me tick, just go study Leslie Knope.
That's amazing. Well, Jeannine, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Any last minute topics we missed, Jeannine, or anything else you'd like to share with everyone listening?
I would just like to say, if anything I said resonated, I'd love to come talk. I love traveling. I love going and seeing customers. I love working with associations, schools. We really, really enjoy going on site and meeting people face to face. And we also are, pretty good in a virtual classroom. We do that every week, actually. So there's always opportunity to come join us or come join a guidance session. So I just encourage people to reach out to workforcedev@calix.com. We'll do a community post about this in the Calix community. But workforcedev@calix.com, you don't even have to have a well-articulated question. You can just be like, hey, I'm interested. And we'll reach out. I, again, have the best team ever. This is my design dream team, truly. Of my entire career, I've met awesome people, and I feel like every one of those experiences has led to this and this team. So that's what I'd like people to know. We're here, we want to learn from you, and we want to design for you.
Well, thank you so much, Jeannine. I know we'll have you on soon once again here, but thank you everyone for tuning in to Buffer In. And if you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast app and to share it with your friends and colleagues. And for more insights from Gabe, Jeannine, and I, be sure to connect with us on LinkedIn.